Gentlemen, my name is Ketan Tiwari. I'm a part of the admissions team at ISB, and I'm assisted today by my colleague, Mr. Arun Prakash. And the topic for today's webinar is quite an interesting one, and a lot of people ask about those things too. It's about life at ISB, professional and social clubs. So, like any of the top B schools in the world, ISB also provides various platforms and rostrums for people to amplify their skills, and it also gives them the opportunities and exposure to festoon their personalities into becoming the kind of leader that they want to be in future. So these professional and social clubs, they play a pivotal role into inculcating those propensities and kind of skills which people want to develop, which would keep them in good stead in future. To understand about the nuances of these clubs in detail, we have 5 of our current students along with us. We have Shivashri, Sharat, Shubhankar, Nipun, and Sri Charan. They will be discussing about these clubs. Of course, we'll be asking them a few questions as well. And we'll understand in detail of how these clubs work and how you get into it and how they help you into gaining more access and more knowledge and more exposure that you get at ISB. So without taking much of the time out of this webinar, I would like to invite our students to introduce themselves one by one, along with the clubs that they represent. That will set the right prelude for the kind of discussions that we are going to have today. So should we go with Shivashri? Shivashri, please introduce yourself and the club that you represent.
Sure. Hi, hello, everyone. So I am the president of the marketing hub. So I'm of the current batch, 24 batch. And I already had like 5 years of work ex in marketing. I was working at St. Gobain, and post that I've come here for my MBA, and post ISB, I'd be heading to L'Oreal as an e-commerce manager. Wow. Nice to see you all here.
Absolutely. Shubhankar, should we go with you now?
Yeah, sure. Hey everyone, I'm Shubhankar. I spent around 4.5 years in data science, and then I'm Shubhankar. I'm the VP of Business Technology Club. It's called BTC. I head from data science background, and I'll be heading to RCSU as a product manager next. BTC, if you guys don't already know, is the sort of one-stop shop for your product management career roles, tech consulting career roles, digital transformation career roles. So this club sort of overlooks that charter of fields. And great to have you.
Interesting. Nipun, let's hear from you.
Sure. So, hey everyone, I'm Nipun Gupta, and I'm the vice president of the sports club here. And I used to work at Deloitte pre-ISB for close to 3 years, and now I'm heading to Siemens in their operations department. And glad to have you all here and answer any questions that you guys have.
Wonderful. Sharat, now it's your turn.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sharat. I am the GSB president of the Hyderabad campus. So at ISB, we have 7 student councils, 16 professional clubs, and 11 social clubs. As the GSB president, my responsibility is to oversee all the councils, clubs, committees, and events at ISB. Before coming to ISB, I worked as an HR at Walmart.
So we all know that we are dealing with important people here, dealing with different clubs. Sri Charan, you are the last one. Let's hear from you.
Sure. Great. My full name is Sri Charan Janga. So I am from Hyderabad as well. And previously I was working with, in the HR domain. I was the lead HR. And currently I'm the vice president of Music Club. And I'll be heading to Reliance CHR office, senior manager strategy role. Yeah.
Great. So let's say I'll start with a very basic question. How do you enroll for these clubs, first of all? Because there are a lot of myths surrounding these things, whether everybody gets a chance to be a part of these clubs or how these clubs operate, or is there a kind of a CGPA that somebody has to get to be a part of a particular club, or you test score or academic? There are many things which people want to understand. So Shivashri, let me go with you first. How does somebody get enrolled in these clubs?
So yeah, I mean, CGPA is used for a lot of things, but not clubs, thankfully. So CGPA is not a part of it. So there's an election process that goes behind this whole, if you want to be a president or a vice president, as people in this call are, you have an election process. So basically you have to give your soapbox, you have a manifesto that you put. If you are, for example, like I said, I'm from marketing, so I stood for the marketing club president role. Similarly, Shubhankar is from a product background, so he stood up for the BTC. So if you have expertise in a particular area and you think that it's, you can give back to the ISB community, you can stand for elections and you release a manifesto where you talk about all your credentials and what all you will do for the club in the course of the year. And people will vote for you. And there are 3 clubs that you can be a part of. So everybody gets to be a part of 3 clubs. Usually the events that happen are not restrictive. People can, if you've not taken those 3 clubs and you have like a 4th club is doing some event and you want to go for it, usually you can go for it. But yeah, depending on your career aspirations, it's better to choose, for example, if you want to go in marketing, it's good to be a part of the marketing club, because there'll be a lot of, events that are held. There's a lot of learning that happens. During placement time, you have resume reviews. So you're mapped to a particular alum for that. So for that whole process, you can basically be a part of the club that you basically have that aspiration. If you have in that sector, be a part of that club. Post the election, once the president and VP is elected, you also have additional 7 more members who can be a POR holder in that club. So for that, there's an interview process that you have to go through. And for example, every club would have like an events coordinator or a marketing communication coordinator. So you have some 7 to 8 roles in that. And yeah, I think apart from these PRs, you be a part of this, you can get to learn from each of the clubs, the events that they do, and you can attend. So yeah, that's basically the format.
Ketan, you're on mute.
So sorry. So anybody else who would like to add anything to it, or we are good?
Yeah, so I would like to add a point here. So Shivsri covered almost all the angles on how you can become a club leader. So apart from the 3 clubs, everyone by default is a member of the Women in Business Club as well as the Net Impact Club. So we have 16 professional clubs, out of which 3 professional clubs, you become a member by voting for that particular club. Then you have 2 more, Net Impact, Women in Business. If you have an experience above 8, it does not apply here. They become SAC club members. So these are the professional clubs that you can be a member of. And by default, everyone is part of all the social clubs. So for social clubs, you don't have an upper cap limit of 3.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's interesting. Look, again, a very rudimentary kind of question. Let's say, are we going to be a part of the clubs which are already established or stipulated, or we can form a different club altogether out of our own choice? How does it work? Sricharan, if you have any ideas about that.
Sure. Well, gladly, I am the right person also to answer this question. So basically, in order to form a particular club, there should be, it should have been previously, formed as SIG, which is special interest groups, and it should have been active for at least 3 years. And one of such, SIGs is Human Capital and Leadership Club. Human Capital and Leadership SIG, which has been formed quite long back, and this year it has been pretty much active. And I'm sure the upcoming cohort definitely has a great chances to convert it into a club. And all it requires is the 15% of the entire cohort's buy-in in order to convert it as a club. And so that's the main thing. And obviously, the person who converts would also have a slight advantage in order to be active in the entire club and obviously the elections, etc. But the norm itself is, before forming it as a club, it should have been an SIG, which is special interest group, for at least 3 years. And those 3 years, it should have been active. And yeah, once the new cohort is formed, at least 15% of cohorts buy-in is required in order to confirm it into a club.
Okay. That's interesting. Shubhankar, I'll come to you now. Let's say, we hear a lot about clubs. What actually do the clubs do? Do we organize industry interactions? Do we only organize, workshops? What exactly is the function of these clubs, apart from, let's say, from a person who is not into ISB, they seem to be a group of people doing certain things. So do these clubs have anything to do with, organizing these clubs and how organizing these events, and how these events are in sync with what we are doing at ISB?
Got it. So I think there are 2 aspects to education in ISB in itself. First part, of course, is the formal education, which is what you learn through your courses, You enroll for electives, you sort of, if you want to specialize in a brand, say finance or marketing, you take electives as such, and you sort of learn the academic part of what entails for that role that you're interested in. But there are certain aspects which you cannot learn in a classroom, right? For example, very specific requirements that your job might have. For example, if there are product managers in the group, you would perhaps have to write a product requirement document, right? Or how to do like feature engineering, for example. So in those cases, professional clubs sort of come in and bridge the gap between what is covered in classroom versus what is actually required in the industry. So when it comes to events, right, there are several different sorts of things. So right from when ISB starts, the first 2 terms are sort of taken to familiarize everyone with giving the right clarity as to what the role might require. Because, of course, some people might have come to ISB with a very specific focus that, hey, I want to be an HR guy, or I want to be a product guy, I want to be a marketing person, right? But there are also people who might just be wanting to sample a lot of different things and then make their minds up. So initially, the first 2 terms are more oriented towards giving everyone in the cohort clarity in terms of, hey, what does an average day in a life of a product manager look like, or a marketing manager look like, or a real estate or a consultant person's look like? So once you have that sort of goal established that, okay, this is what is available to me, then your events become a little more focused towards the actual industry, in the sense that we invite a lot of alums to talk about their experiences. A big part of professional clubs also becomes about placements, because of course there are short-term goals that you would want to have out of ISB and long-term goals that you have out of ISB. Long-term goals are a little more abstract in that sense, but short-term goals are very real, right? Because you would want to sort of, land whatever job that you aspired to as you join ISB. So what happens is, as we inch closer to say term 3 and 4, so term 5 end is usually the placement season. So we have terms 3, 4, 5 to actually gear up the cohort towards their ideal job. And that could require, say, for example, if you already specialize in the field that you want to go into, it's a easier job for you. But say, for example, you come from an unrelated field and you want to head into consulting, for example, you would want help with case preps, you would want help with guesstimates, you would want help with how to construct your resume in the right fashion, so you show yourself in the right light in front of the recruiter, how to have the interview experience itself, mock interviews, and so on and so forth. So professional clubs sort of, come in at this point and help you gear up towards these entire things. That can happen either through bringing alums, which is a great way for you to network with people who have already passed through the halls of ISB and been established in the industry. It could also happen through external players. For example, there are certain external agencies who specialize in how to give a kick-ass interview, or how to structure your resume spot on, or how to build your product portfolio. The professional club also becomes a via intermediate to those agencies, through which the student cohort expresses their need and sort of realizes their own potential. So these are the events that happen. And of course, there are other things, other fun things. For example, the conclave. So every club, like most of the professional clubs, have something called a conclave, in which we sort of invite industry leaders and they talk about their experience. Usually there is a theme, and everyone gets to be involved in a dialogue about how is ISB involved in industry per se, and how can we as emerging managers or product leaders or marketing leaders, finance leaders, sort of help shape that conversation. So these are the fun side of things. There are also mixers, like parties that happen at the term ends and stuff like that. I know marketing mixer, Shivashi can talk about it, but that was a huge deal. But yeah, that's the fun side of things. There's the learning side of things. And most importantly, professional clubs sort of give you a scope to positively engage with the cohort. A lot of different students might have expertise in different fields. For example, as a seasoned consultant, you have a very core set of competencies, but that does not mean that you might not be able to learn from someone who comes from, say, a real estate background, because that's pretty diverse, or someone from fashion, someone with an army background, someone with a dental background. So these professional clubs also sort of, provide, through events, provide a way for everyone to mix, gather around find like-minded people, connect, network, and then realize synergies to actually form something impactful by the time your placements come in and by the time you graduate from this.
Interesting. I think anybody else, I mean, you can share your experiences probably about this as to how, I mean, these things work and how these industry interactions help people, or probably if you remember any of the top industry leaders who have come into any of the clubs to address, anybody who can share any experiences.
If I may take that.
Yeah, please.
Again, although human capital and leadership, was not a club, it was an SIG. What we have done is initially we have connected with leaders from PwC. So we've invited the global partner from PwC and also the India CHRO of PwC to the campus, and there were about like 30 plus. Yeah, correct. So in fact, there were like 60 plus people who have come down for that interaction, and we have had a great session talking about various aspects of the business and importance of AI into the business, and also certain insights from PwC, and also about the new wing which they are trying to build up in India. And we've had great sessions with them, and we've also followed up with another session with leaders from Wipro. The COO and country head of Wipro have come down, Switzerland specifically, and also 30 plus HR, business HR folks have come down, and we have a great interaction with them. And I'm sure, see, the whole agenda of these sort of interactions sessions are not just to gather certain insights, but also to network, as very rightly Shubhankar pointed out, right? So the most important thing is you get to network a lot. Probably you might not get that opportunity outside anywhere else, right? So this is a great platform to connect with them through LinkedIn, in person, whatever conversations you would like to strike. And I'm sure that would be a great opportunity for each and everybody to gather certain insights and have great interactions with these people. So yeah.
That's great. Sharath, I'll come to you. There is an interesting idea which actually originated in my mind listening to you people. Like, I mean, not everybody is, going to be as confident. I think there are people with different confidence levels, I would say. They're all very talented people, but probably not everybody has the propensity to become a leader in the times to come. Okay. Or let's say, at least they're not showing it at this point of time when they enter into ISB. There are a lot of inhibitions in everybody's persona. How do these, I think that being a part of these professional clubs, and particularly standing for the leadership positions these clubs provide, help you into being the leader that you want to be? Can you give us an idea of what all you get to do as a leader for these clubs, and how does it help you embellish your persona?
So as a student body leader, I got to network closely with a lot of CEOs and CXOs who visited ISB. For example, we had the HUL Asia head who visited ISB for a placement related session. I got to sit with him and have a good chat for 15-20 minutes. Same way with the ITC Nepal head, who is an ISB alum from 2004 batch. So when these kind of VIPs who are at senior leadership roles in various organizations visit ISB, we as student body leaders often get the chance to sit down with them, have a chat. When another firm came here for an interactive session with students, I remember it was, Lodha had visited us, and it was the marketing club, the graduate student body leaders who had a good chat with the VP of Lodha. So when you stand for these roles, this is something that you get to interact. Coming back to the other point of people who are not very outgoing on how they can take up the leadership roles. At ISB, most leadership positions are given through elections, but there are certain leadership positions like the lead coordinator roles for various marquee events, which happen through selection process. So if someone is not very comfortable going and contesting in an election, is not very confident of going and convincing or canvassing people, then lead coordinator positions give you a great exposure towards leadership. And we have around 8 marquee events at ISB.
Okay. Well, that's good. So Nipun, is there also some kind of fight between people who want to stand for leadership positions? Because of course, they seem to be pretty competitive from a distance. I'm sure not everybody can be a leader, or let's say not everybody can be chosen to become a leader. How does it work?
Okay, I don't know if you coincidentally picked me up for this, but yeah, I've experienced this twice.
Oh,
Once in the FGC elections and once in the sports elections. But yeah, it's highly competitive.
mhm.
So for FGC, I remember that we were the only 2 candidates, but for sports club, we have 7 candidates who wanted to be the president of the sports club. And again, everyone who stands up for a particular post has done something great. I think professional clubs, it matters the most, wherein you are coming from a particular background and you show your credentials that why you are suited for the position. So I think it's highly competitive. Again, at the end, it all boils down to which candidate has the highest passion, or probably which one has the reach to the network, and which one is more committed to giving it out to the court. Because I don't doubt that anyone's credentials
Yeah,
are less than any other one. So
Mm.
I think, yeah, but it's competitive for sure.
I'm
It
sure.
also helps you understand the importance of networking. So
Mm.
reaching out to 600 students to get you to vote for yourself, I think it's a very tough task.
Mhm. You are being trained to become or adorn any leadership positions in future. That's good. Also,
Correct.
I mean, just to share an anecdote with everybody who's listening to us, I was interacting with one of the senior alums. He passed out in 2010 or 11. His name is Sabin, and he became the president of the sports club. And he was competing again against somebody named Viren. Later on, he realized that he was competing against Mr. Viren Raskina, who was the captain of Indian hockey team. He didn't know about it because he was from Kathmandu, and obviously he was allowed to become the captain. So obviously, people are also, there to relinquish their positions and give you the opportunities also. So that's the kind of competition we are talking about here.
Yeah.
Shivashri, I will come to you with a question. Like, look, obviously, I understand that there are career aspirations for people who are, joining ISB. So I'm sure they are joining the clubs with some career aspirations as well, so that they can help them, gain extra skills. How does that work? I mean, how do the clubs actually help you into, gaining those skills or harnessing those skills? If you can shed some light on it.
Sure. So there are a couple of ways. I think by the end of the first term itself, you have clubs which are formed, and once you're part of it, we start right on. Like first, we have several sessions, especially with the alums who are in this industry. For example, we had people from working in marketing in Meta or Amazon Prime or Hotstar. So we call in those people, have sessions with them where they take us through the entire process of what they do, what are the skills that they had, how much work ex did they have. And a lot of times, especially in ISB, a lot of people are consulting aspirants. So for something like a marketing, there might be not a lot of people who have enough marketing backgrounds. So a lot of people would want to make a switch also, maybe pivot with this whole process of MBA. So for those folks, again, there's a separate level of training where you have, you have intensive levels of hard skill training. What all for example, if it's social media marketing, what all do you need to learn? So you have specific learning sessions for each of this. Then coming to like the whole process of placement, I think every person is mapped to, at least every professional club does this, is you will be mapped to a particular alum. So that is basis your interest. What kind of role do you want? What kind of organization that you'd be want to be a part of? And that person is going to do your entire resume review, give you, feedback on what needs to be changed, what needs to be added. And a lot of times for the ones who want to even pivot, they might even, take part in case competitions, and you add that as a part of your resume to show that, you are really inclined towards be it product or be it marketing or whichever field they want to go to. Then you also have a lot of placement prep material that each club prepares for their respective cohort. There's been several material which is being passed on by our seniors as well. And each one of us also puts in the effort to like make an entire placement material book that has to be, you have to go through it. And these WhatsApp groups are really active across all the clubs, I feel. Every new update, every new thing that comes up, we like put in articles and we have like fruitful discussions. Everybody's giving opinions. And I think the process of reading is also very important. I personally feel that if you want to sound intelligent in an interview, you might as well read and keep updated, be abreast with what is going on in the world, be it marketing, product, anything that you want to be a part of. So that's that whole process. Then conclave, like people mentioned, you have great speakers coming in and like for marketing club, we had the VP of Times Group who came in, and he's a part of the jury in like Cannes Film Festival. So when you have people like that come in and show you some marvelous ads and what's the thought process behind that, things like even the co-founder of Shebang, you know, how in today's age, like 8 seconds of clip becomes viral. How do you do that? You don't know. How do you crack it? So things like that is also, you learn it in the process of this whole club, you know, if you're a part of the club. So yeah. And I think I'm going to add on to your previous question, which you asked, Sharad. I think whoever's made it here, you need not succumb to imposter syndrome at all. Each one of you can be a leader. Anybody. I really feel that. I'm like a big time introvert, and I stood up for election, and I know that post election I could make like I met so many like-minded people, and I'm really glad that I took that step. And even though I had experience, I was doubtful. Do I do this? Do I take that leap? And I think it's one of the best decisions that I took. So do not succumb to imposter syndrome. If you made it to ISB, there's something unique about you, which the others might not have. So cling on to that uniqueness and just go for it. Yeah.
Very important disquisition for everybody who has some, or who have an idea of some kind of diffidence into their personality. That's worth listening. Great. Sricharan, I mean, look, we are all talking about the very serious stuff that happens through these clubs. I also want to understand of what fun activities we do with these clubs and the kind of social networking which happens through these clubs, out of the class kind of a thing, getting to know people. How does it happen? Want to understand from you.
Sure. See, first of all, there are n number of social clubs at ISB, right? So, and unlike the professional clubs, you are already a part of social club if there is a club, and you don't have to actually be, technically choose a club. Generally, most of these social clubs are for everyone. And one disclaimer, even before I talk anything about it, at ISB, always some or the other thing keeps going on. Even right now, I'm sure, I'm probably not aware also, I'm sure there's something going on for sure, right? So all I'm trying to state is, you just have to look out for opportunities. There are umpty number of opportunities just going around. Although people were writing exam the other day and we were playing ISL football match, right? So all I'm trying to state is, I'm not trying to build certain FOMO for those people who are, writing exam. So I myself made sure I don't have any exams in the subjects what I'm choosing, so that I can play for ISL. So there are a lot of things which keep going on alternatively when you're in class, when you're off class. And see, all you will have is 4 hours of class or 6 hours of class a day, especially for the first four terms. You will have 4 hours of class, right? And apart from that, rest every other time, all you'll have to do is write, do assignments, have fun, chill with people, participate in different various competitions. There'll be a lot of things going on, right? And I'm sure now the upcoming cohort would have probably better ideas as well when compared to ours. I'm sure that's how we evolve, right? So you can take suggestions as the other people have told. You can connect with us, we can gather certain insights. A lot of things keep happening. And specifically talking about music club, we started off with an event called Pitch Imperfect, initially just to boil down certain inhibitions in the heads of people that they don't want to sing, they can't sing. All the president of current music club has done is gather everybody to one particular place and just make them sing, just make them dance, just do whatever they want. So that's how you tend to bond with people. And almost every term we have been doing each and various
Please go ahead.
Yeah, almost every term we keep doing a lot of activities. And in fact, there's something called TJP, the Jukebox Project. It's the official ISB musical band, right? And for this band performs for every marquee event what ISB has. Well, marquee event, I'll probably circle back to what exactly marquee event is, etc. But key events of ISB, that's where Jukebox Project performs. And in fact, the upcoming performance what we have is in Hard Rock Cafe, March 17th. So we're going to perform there. So there'll be a lot of things. Trust me, probably just one session is not really enough for us to explain about what our activities we'll be having. You talk about radio club, fashion club, marketing, arts and creativity club, music club, dance club, a lot of things. And we also have certain SIGs food and beverage SIG, astronomy, what is that? Astronomy SIG. They're pretty much unique SIGs as well, where you tend to have a lot of fun. So yeah.
Yeah,
Ketan,
that sounds, yeah, please go ahead.
let me also add into that. So, as sports club president, I think what Sricharan was talking about ISL, we have that event as a 2-month long event which started in January, will end up in March, and before that we had Sports Wars, which also goes for 2 months, and I think I have picked up 4 new activities in ISB which I have never done in my life, only because every time something or the other is happening. So I remember I missed the first 2 sip and paint sessions, but I had to attend the third one because it just keeps happening. You can't just miss out if you are really interested in something. So yeah, if you want to pick up something new, I think it's the best place to be.
I'm sure.
And one thing, what we started this time, and this I would really want to specify, we started something called SV Jams, right? So V Music Club, which is organized a very small area in the lawns of SV student villages, and we just start singing. And I'm sure everybody gathers around, easily 50, 100 people. Imagine at 9 o'clock after a long day, just sitting around, sipping something, having probably drinks or food, and you just singing around and having fun. That's the time which I'm sure we wouldn't really get anywhere outside, right? So that's the level of fun we tend to have. And trust me, you just have to wait for some more days. You'll definitely have a lot of fun.
I'm sure. Sounds like fun already listening to you. Okay. We talk a lot even when we do these, offline and online sessions about the peer learning at ISB, learning from one another, out of the class learning, inside the classroom learning, right? And the kind of eclectic learning that we have, listening to people coming from different backgrounds and different walks of life. I'll probably go to Sharath. Sharath, look, people, when they apply to ISB, always think about this peer learning concept that we have at ISB, but they do not have first-hand exposure about it. We would like you to expound a bit on the peer learning. How does it help?
Absolutely.
And, how does it work?
So at ISB, most of the projects in the initial terms are done in study groups. So study group is a group of 5 students from the same section. Usually they have different years of experience and different backgrounds. For example, in my study group, I had a chartered accountant, a lawyer, an engineer. I was an HR. The other person was from a pharma background. So all 5 people have 5 different qualifications, and the way we solve a problem is different. So we have to sit and solve a case study together. We all get the same marks. So everyone wants to score well, right? So they might think their opinion is right, or the way they solve it is the right way to go about it. So what you do, you sit down, you bring in your points, you brainstorm ideas, then you get different perspectives. For example, I learned more accounting and finance from my CA friend than from professors. They will teach concepts in class, but a CA friend who's sitting next to you can explain concepts better. And if I was not here at ISB, I'm sure that a CA wouldn't spend so much time teaching me a concept in finance or accounting, right? So that's the case. Even in my section, when it comes to pure learning, in my bench, I had an ISRO scientist, an army veteran, a surgeon who did MBBS, MD, and then came here to do an MBA. So that's the kind of students we have here at ISB. We have people with 2 years of experience as well as 22 years of experience. So the amount of pure learning you get is absolutely insane. Even in class, at ISB, we give a lot of importance to class participation. So class participation means like during the session, you're supposed to put out your voice, like make some arguments or put forward your answers in front of everyone. So you get to hear what others think. How do they look at this problem? And hearing such varied opinions from such a diverse set of people really teaches you a lot of things which other colleges cannot teach you.
Anything anybody would like to add to peer learning, or any of the examples that you can give which really helped you?
I would maybe just like to add that it's also like a win-win situation, right? In the sense that the quickest way for you to make your mark on most people in ISB is by doing a P2P session. Because like everyone mentioned, everyone is a winner, right? So how do you differentiate yourself? So the moment you have, or you realize that you have an area of expertise which is required, Sharat mentioned about CA, but could be anything as well, because over the course of 1 year, an average person does maybe at least 3 to 4 cases, right? And each of these case competitions must be around very different lines. Could be about supply chain, could be about access management, could be about something else. And it's not often that you have the necessary expertise to solve that case, which means that you must reach out to someone else in the cohort. Could be an alum as well, but usually alums professors do not have a lot of time. But the people who do have time, who do have the time and the intent to help you, is people in your own cohort. So you do reach out to them, right? And so the quickest way for you to, or anyone to make a mark, is by letting other people know that, hey, I'm the go-to person for this subject or this field of expertise. I'm willing to help anyone who requires help, either for case comms, during subjects, during exams, and stuff like that. So that is also another aspect which makes it a lot more like fulfilling as a thing, not just from like the receiver side, but also from the giver side.
I'm sure. Thank you so much for sharing. Shivashri, I'll come to you. Look, people come to ISB, and we have seen the numbers. A lot of people who come into ISB, they make an industry or a functional shift, right? It means they had a certain notion about what are their short-term and long-term goals, but definitely they change it while landing or after landing into ISB. How does that happen? And how ISB helps you decide which career path is good for you? If you can shed some light, I think it'll remove a lot of questions.
Sure. I think there are multiple ways in which people make a pivot. Some already know what they want. And I remember even in OV, I think seniors had asked how many don't know where they want to go. And there was a fair share of, hands which went up, which is totally okay. You can just come here and figure out where you want to go. Coming to ISB helps you get more holistic, like P2P and all people mentioned. I hated finance. I didn't know anything in finance. Marketing was such a fun job that I did. But I have to know finance. I'm going to go into an e-commerce job and I need to learn finance. So your coursework is one way where you get, a gist of everything. Somebody who's from product will know more about marketing. Somebody who's from marketing will know more about finance. And you can also take different kinds of electives depending on which way you want to go. For example, I've majored in marketing and strategy. Somebody who wants to go into a fin role can, major in finance and take up those electives which interest him. And you can also take up, even if you're not majoring, you can take a couple of subjects for, again, like a holistic thing. Then the other way people pivot is also you do a lot of case comps to get the hang of thing. For example, if I'm from finance and want to pivot into marketing, I would probably do a HUL Lime case comp. And if I get through that, your resume is going to speak volumes that, that credibility of having an HUL Lime case com on your resume itself shows the intent that yes, this person's interested in marketing and wants to get into marketing. So there are people, in fact, people who flew down from HUL, they were from finance background and they got into the leadership program where they now brand heads they are. So that pivot is definitely possible. Just clubs are a big way of doing it as well. You learn a lot. Peer-to-peer is another way of doing it. At the end of the day, like after 4 terms, how much in your resume can, speak about the things that you want to get into is something which you have to work on here. Yeah.
And how do these ELPs work? Anybody, Sricharan, if I can come to you, let's say, or anybody who has been a part of any ELP or any project, because I'm sure that these projects also give you a sense of whether you are actually cut out for that particular industry, right? Being an outsider, somebody who is, let's say, sitting outside and who's thinking, I think these help. So if any light can be shed on these projects or internships or ELPs that you do, and how do they help, Sricharan, if you have been a part of any of these?
So I was not part of ELP, but definitely I can share some thoughts about it, right? So especially since we are addressing the YLP folks right now, right? So well, so let's assume for a fact that I come from the HR background and I want to get into a hardcore, sales and marketing job, right? And the key areas, what you'll be talking about will not just be experience based in your interviews. There'll be a lot of other things because all you probably have is just a couple of years of experience, right? And you will not really have a lot of things to talk about. Hence, in order to direct those conversations towards the similar background where you are trying to head, let's say sales and marketing. If you're having an ELP or a pro bono project in sales and marketing sort of a thing, you will have a constructive conversation which you can lead it to, or else definitely that would lead to a very different conversation altogether, which probably you might not really be ready for. This is one concept. Another concept, since you come from a very peculiar background and you want to get into a specific role sort of sales and marketing, in case you're able to gather certain exposure towards, through an ELP from any XYZ company, would give you that edge of understanding certain basics when compared to not understanding those things. So if you just go and sit in an interview, probably you might not really be well versed with the practical exposure of that particular role. In case you've been a part of an ELP or a pro bono project, you tend to have a better understanding what you've had for the last 2 months doing that ELP, or pro bono. So that's one key pointer, right? And another key pointer, so although I have not done ELP or pro bono, I was inclined to try something into human capital consulting. So I also tried something of a pro bono project sort of a thing from a Grant Thornton, from this company called Grant Thornton. So that really gave me an edge to understand what happens in human capital domain as a consultant, and that really helped me also to strike certain conversations in the interview, right? I mean, it's not a short statement that you will be talking about that aspect, but it just gives the recruiter or the interviewer to understand that you are inclined towards the similar domain, right? So I'm talking from a placement perspective, and just parking the placement perspective aside, you will have fun. Yeah, you'll tend to meet some random people, like 3-4 people from ISB. You tend to spend 3-4 months with them. See, I understand it will be definitely an added additional factor into your day-to-day curriculum or however your day is scheduled. But at ISB, you are there to only stretch. We are here stretching every day. So after a point of time, stretching becomes new normal. So I'm not trying to threaten you guys, but it's the new normal. Trust me, that stretch could be anywhere, probably sacrificing your sleep or parties or socializing with people, anything. But that spillover effect would surely be there. So you can probably assume that spillover, that stretch as doing an ELP and understand, people better, company better, or those sort of roles better. So yeah, that's the thing. So in detail, how exactly an ELP works, etc., I'm sure you will be able to learn as you are, into ISB. I feel it's a long shot for us to even explain what exactly goes around, the selection process, etc. But yeah, so broader view, that's what I would like to see.
Interesting. Thank you very much for explaining that to the best of your abilities and within the time constraint that we have. I am venturing upon or embarking upon a question which is basically a kind of a yaksh prashn for everybody. What is ISB looking for in a candidate? Now, considering the fact that the most of the audience that we have today is a YLP audience, all of you, I'm sure, will have a different perspective or probably will have 1 or 2 things unique to say about it. So I will start with Shubhankar. What does ISB look for in a candidate, Shubhankar? And then I'll probably go to each one of you understanding it.
I think it's a very tough question to answer. Probably the admissions team can actually answer it better, but I'll try my best. So the way I think about it is in ISB or like in general finance subjects, we are taught about a concept called NPV, right? Net present value. So I think admissions work in a very similar way, in the sense that ISB is interested in people who will help build the brand of ISB in the future. Now, there's no science behind knowing that, okay, this person is going to be greatly successful, and let's get them in and let's ensure that how can ISB best provide a safe space for them to experiment, grow, learn, and contribute back again. But I think there are a few markers. For example, like Shivashri touched upon, everyone has certain unique characteristics, which if you know, you can really leverage to become the right sort of leader for whichever set of people you want to make a change or make a difference in the world with, right? So the best way you can convey that is through your applications, right? And your applications are a very limited set of things. Like you talk about 2 essays, you talk about a few achievements, stuff like that. But I think you using that space to talk about how you have had those experiences in the past, because it's best to realize now itself that you do not have to be a 35-year-old person to be a good leader. You can be a leader when you are in standard 6, when you were the first to raise your hand for a very difficult question, or in engineering, when you maybe probably led a sports team to a IIT BHU event, and stuff like that. So first, talk about how you would have had those experiences before, and second, talk about how you still have the inclination to make a broader impact in the future, and how ISB sort of comes to it. Because while it's also important to experiment, it's sort of good if you have a vision of what you want in the future. So that level of clarity, that level of vision, and also like how Sricharan talked about stretching, the fact that you have willingness to put in the amount of work that is required for you to get there. So I think these three things I would really consider important if I were to sort of evaluate uh, back when I was applying. That is how I constructed my application. That is this way of communicating my NPV good enough for ISB to also be on board with?
Interesting. Everybody will have their own way of communicating their strengths and weaknesses. Nipul, I'm just coming to you. I'm sure for you, there might have been some similarities into what Shubhankar had to say. And of course, you may have your own unique perspectives about it also. Anything which you would like to add to the answer that we just heard of?
So, Ketan, I am a YLP myself.
Oh, wow.
Might relate to the people here.
Yeah.
So I don't think that there's anything specific that I prepared for when I was applying to ISB, and I had in mind that, okay, this is what ISB is looking for. What I think it'll only be a repetition, but again, at the risk of it, I'll say that I made sure that I have a versatility in my application and myself as well, because that's what ISB looks for. They do not want a sole academically centered person, probably a sole athlete also. So versatility really helps. Secondly, leadership, you can't just show from positions in your college, but probably leading any social event or anything else which shows that, okay, you are capable of making decisions also helps. And I would also like to take this opportunity to answer that question which Lakshay has on the chat. I think first year is too early to frame yourself for just ISB. I don't know if it's like a 3-year or 4-year course, but you still have a lot of years to go. But if you still want to prepare, just make sure that you are taking part in all the activities that are happening in your college. So take positions in a decision-making role. Secondly, do not shy away from participating in competitions. It need not be necessarily a case comp, but anything that gives you an exposure to other activities, just make sure you're a part of that. And yeah, I think we do not stress enough on academics, but academic consistency is definitely what you need when you're applying to ISB as well. So yeah, first year is too early, but you can start building your application around that.
Okay, so it's not like you get a 720 and you straight away get into ISB. That is for sure.
I didn't get a 720. So definitely.
Okay,
Yes,
great, great. Okay, I mean, look, since most of the audience who are listening to us today are going to be applying into the stage 1 round 2 deadline that we have on 31st of January. What are your tips or one particular tip that you want to give to people who are actually applying or who are going to apply to YLP stage 1 round 2 applications? So Sharath, any tip that you, I'm sure you have many, but at least one of the tips that you can give, and I'll just then go to other panelists also.
I think having a clarity of what you want to achieve through ISB might help. For example, in my case, I was very clear I want to get into a management trainee role, which was visible in my essay as well. So showing leadership skills will help. Then academic consistency is something that they cannot change right now. If they had that, it's definitely a plus. But my tip would be draft a very good essay. There should be a clarity, a proper vision. Answers like why ISB, all these things should be very clear. That's what I would say.
Shivashri, any tips for them?
Yeah, I have a couple of them. One is make sure you have spikes in your entire essay and resume. It's very important. It's not just for ISB application. Even in job interviews, there'll be 500 people applying for one job. And if you do have that spike, which will make you stand out from the other 499 is what is going to be looked at. So make sure you have spikes across the story that you build. Second, make a cohesive story. There'll be 2 or 3 essays, I believe. I think my story from the first to the third essay was well stitched. It had a link. My story was coming out across in all 3, and it was cohesive. It was more holistic. And also bring out your personal self. It's not just I have 4-pointer. What are you inside? What made you that in your, probably you guys are young, 20 years of life. Maybe it might be Bharatnatyam dancer. Recently I was reading somebody's essay, and she beautifully stitched being a Bharatnatyam dancer to creativity to marketing. And that's something which is, when you read something like that, is well thought through. It gives a holistic approach of what you are, and not just I did Bharatnatyam when I was 3 and today I'm doing marketing. That's not how it is. So try to have that. I think that's it. You guys are smart enough. If you're thinking about MBA at 20, I think you guys are doing great already. I did not think so much.
So stitching a great story is important, guys. So storytelling always matters. Work on the storytelling aspect. Also, Shivashri talked about spikes, but for the sake of spikes, do not mention anything which you have not done. Please be genuine about it, because
Oh yeah, that was the
obviously,
other, correct. Sorry, just to add on to that, like if you're mentioning I know a lot of people mention volunteering just for the sake of it. If you're not passionate, you're going to get caught in the interview. Like I remember I had written a lot about this volunteering, and they had asked so many things about it. And if you've not done it, don't. Like, if you have to have your story right, don't write it because every college essay needs some volunteering, every college essay needs some extracurricular. Don't. If you're actually passionate about that cause, put it up. Otherwise, it's okay. No, not everybody needs to be Mother Teresa, so it's fine.
Right. So if you have nothing to do with books, please don't say you are a
Yeah.
bibliophile. Otherwise, obviously, it'll entice the interviewers to ask you questions about that. Great. Thank you so much. Anybody who likes to add anything to it, or I think these are the tips which are good enough.
I can just add
Yeah.
one small pointer. So this is one of the things what I already talked about. So since you guys would have just maximum of probably a couple of years of experience, right? So just for the sake of spikes, do not really, unless and until it happened, do not really specify certain things like I've saved XYZ million, billion, to this organization. So it is pretty much intuitive that the opposite person tends to understand. So we know for a fact in just a couple of years with a graduate, being a graduate, it's very difficult to actually influence an organization at that higher level, right? Obviously exceptions are not examples. So just for the sake of it, please do not specify. Try your level best to be authentic. In case you've really done certain things, please do. I mean, definitely, I would love to look forward for certain, spikes in candidates with such level of gravitas in the essays and the profile. But unless it really happened, unless you believe it, do not specify anything of that sort. Could be extracurriculars, or could be academics, or could be a work experience. Especially work experience when I'm talking about. Trust me, when the opposite person is taking your interview, understand those people really have 10, 12, 20 years of experience already in the industry. They surely tend to understand. Not just them, even right now, if you just show such resumes, we tend to understand, right? Try your level best to keep it very mellow, yet pretty much open and overt about what you've actually done, what you have not really done. And if you don't really know certain things in the interviews, you can just go ahead and accept certain things. So that's one piece of advice what I can give.
That's a very important piece of advice too, because students sometimes get overwhelmed with this idea of showing a lot of things in their applications, and it actually backfires in the interview. Thank you so much. And thank you for adumbrating all these points. I'm sure it is going to be helpful to people. Arun, I think now we can take some live questions from the audience if we have any. Yeah.
Sure. So audience, feel free to raise your hand and you will get a request from us. So you can unmute yourself and you can talk to the students directly. So for the time being, please park your questions pertaining to admission scholarships aside, and please make sure that you are addressing the questions pertaining to the social and the professional clubs at ISB, opposed to understand their experiences. So now we are opening the floor. So you can raise your hand, you get to talk to the students.
I guess even if they have one or two queries about, the things which we just explained about how to write things in the application, I think they can raise their hand if you have at all any
All
of these
right.
questions.
I think I could just pick one question from the chat box. Of course, so since they are college students, some of them are in the early stages, so not even in their pre-final and final year. Some of them just started their UG, but still they see that they want to do an MBA. So they wanted to understand how they can build a profile at this juncture. Maybe your thoughts. Just picking one question from the chat box.
Mm-hmm.
So when they are in the college and they see that they can do an MBA and so what they can do at this juncture to strengthen or build their profile, your thoughts. So
Okay, who goes for that? I mean, should I park this question to?
I can just
Yeah.
give one pointer. I'm sure post which the rest of them can join it up. One suggestion what I can give is please do not build your profile for the sake of ISB or any other college. That's the blunt statement what I can give, because trust me, not every day is going to be as per what we expect, right? So all I'm trying to state is if you are passionate about certain things. So let's say coming down to me, I'm really passionate about music. I started doing something in music. And trust me, when you keep doing something really good in that, some or the other day, there will be some sort of spike. All I'm trying to state is please do not confine that one profile building towards a particular college. I mean, although coming from ISB, I tell you this suggestion is try your level best to put in your hands in various things. Perfect. Just to gather insights, to know, great. But just for the sake of spike, do not really indulge so much into it just, to get into a college, because it doesn't really give out a lot of things, end of the day. So try, spread out your wings. If you are really passionate about dance, music, or probably social service, go ahead and try out, reach out to people. All I'm trying to say is do reach out to alums, gather certain insights, you do what is right, and trust me, there will be some sort of shape which will be built. Again, it all depends on how well you're connecting dots, just like how Shivashri mentioned. But just for the sake of connecting dots, please do not try to, try something different. So that's something what I can say at a very broader level. If anybody can take out an individual point, then we can surely.
Yeah. Any other perspectives?
Yeah.
Maybe. So of course, Nipun, you are a YP candidate, and of course, so what was your approach at that time? Of course, whenever you are applying to ISB at that point in time, if you can also share your thoughts.
Yeah, so Arun, I'm sure this will help, but I just started my application when I got to know that, okay, ISB's applications have opened up. So I did not start in first year or my second year. But what I saw people doing is that they focus mainly on three aspects. Firstly, definitely academics. They wanted to maintain a consistent GPA when they were applying to ISB. Secondly, they were focusing that a lot of people were clear about the field that they wanted to go in. Let's say someone wanted to work in marketing, so that they made sure that their CV or their profile before applying to ISB has some internships, at least one or two internships or some work or projects in that particular area of marketing. And thirdly, PORs or extracurricular activities. I don't know how much volunteering actually helps, because nowadays I was also looking at profiles. Everyone has that volunteering experience as well. So, but some leadership responsibilities, getting into a club and heading out some events definitely helps to build the profile. I think rest, all of it just depends on how you put it into your essay. So I remember when I was putting up my essay, I focused on three things. Firstly, what is the incident or the achievement I'm talking about? Secondly, what are the learnings that I had from that incident, and how are they going to help me in my long-term and short-term goals? Thirdly, how are those learnings or that incident is going to help me contribute to the ISB community? So for every essay, no matter what the question is, I've made sure that I'm answering these three questions in that context.
Yeah. And of course, so I could see another question, which is most frequently asked question in all the info sessions. What is a cutoff? So guys, so for the benefit of larger audience, so there is no cutoff set by ISB. So since we have a holistic profile-based evaluation, this GMAT or GR is one of the components in your selection process. So even in YLP process, that comes only in stage 2. We don't require your GMAT or GR information in stage 1. So you can apply with your basic acads, extracurrics, and you can write on essay, you can submit your application in stage 1. Then once you proceed to stage 2, even in that, only in that particular stage, you need to give your GMAT and GRE. So even we do have students who have scored just over 600 sitting in the current class. And we also rejected a candidate who got 780 out of 800 in GMAT. Since we have a well-rounded holistic approach, as we always wanted to have candidates with well-rounded abilities. So we have to ignore that candidate, and we also selected a candidate, as I said, who scored just over 600 in GMAT. Likewise with GRE. So there is no differentiation between these two. So we have a holistic profile-based evaluation, and so just look at the website. You'll understand what is the average GMAT score looks like, what is the range of the class in terms of GMAT or GRE score. So that will give you more inputs. So yes. So any other queries so you guys have? Please feel free to raise your hand.
At least I don't see any hands raised.
Yeah.
I mean, that can mean two things. Otherwise, we may
There
have
is a
inundated them.
question.
Yeah.
About the campus.
Can I choose?
Yeah, go ahead. Again, that is about the question about the campus. Which campus should I choose?
You
Hyderabad?
don't
or-
get to choose the
Mohali?
campus. You can indicate your preference, but it's up to ISB whether you get Hyderabad or Mohali. But be assured that we have a one school, two campus model. The experience, the curriculum, everything remains the same. The only difference is in Mohali, we have around 300 folks, while in Hyderabad, we have 600 folks.
And winters in Mohali. No
Yeah.
winter.
Yeah, the weather difference.
Except
Uh,
the climate
Arshad
difference,
Mittal has raised
might
the
the
hand.
same. Yeah.
One thing I want to clarify here. I got a lot of questions. I think these days it's the admissions going on. So some people were asking me how are the placements in Mohali and how are the placements different in Hyderabad. So let me clarify. The placements are like they're collective. The recruiters do not even know which campus you are at. So the times of online placements, it's like this the window screen, not your campus or anything. And I don't know if I'm right or not, but even when it was in person, people used to fly to one campus and all 900 students used to give the interviews from there itself. So the campus is indifferent when it comes to placements.
There was
And of
one
course,
hand.
yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay.
Akshad.
So yeah, Akshad, please go ahead with your question, and I'm allowing you to talk.
Hey, hi, am I audible?
Yes, Akshad.
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask that if one wants to pivot post their MBA, be it into consulting, marketing, etc., he or she should be clear in their head pre-MBA itself, right? Ki where do I want to pivot, or one can rely upon the college, the exposure, and then can decide. So what's the scene there?
Not really. Having a clarity will help you, right? You know what to focus on. In your essay, also showing a clarity will help. But there are a lot of people who came with a intention to switch to consulting, then later they ended up becoming product managers or marketers because that subject excited them more at ISB. So you don't have to worry about having an extreme level of clarity, but a good amount of clarity during your essays will help.
I would also say that it's also important to simultaneously, like even if you do decide to shift gears later on, you also have to be okay with putting in the hard work. Someone who has been gearing up for a consulting preparation way before you will, of course, have the upper hand because they might have already practiced certain guesstimates, case preps, could have already maybe won case competitions. But if you had that epiphany maybe in your term 2 that theek hai, mujhe consulting karna hai, then you will have to put in way more amount of work than a counterpart who probably has a little upper hand. So if you, as long as you're willing for it, it makes no difference.
Yeah, got it. That answers my question. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you, Mittal. And any more questions? Of course, we'll be sharing the recording with all the participants, and those who could not participate in the session will be sharing the recording of the webinar with all the registered candidates. So
Ramesh
Alright.
has raised his hand.
yeah, Prathamesh, I'm allowing you to talk. Go ahead.
Hey, hi. Hi all. So generally it is stated that you should know that what value can add to the cohort. So how to know what kind of value can I add into the cohort? Because normally everyone has a diverse background, everyone has certain experiences. Everyone had been into their college like some part of the club or some activity. So how can I evaluate myself that how am I adding into those?
Oh, can I take up this question?
Please.
So, Pratmesh, what you can probably do is when you're building your application, you also know that what you are good at. Now it just not need to be academics. When I was applying to ISB, I knew that probably my oratory skills or my networking skills is what will help me in ISB. Plus, this is something that I can pass on to my peers as well at ISB. So I made sure that I'm focusing that on my essays. Secondly, when I was applying to ISB, it was clear that I wanted to be into the sports club as well. So I made sure that I put that on my application that I am very much passionate about sports. And this is something that I would be pursuing at ISB as well, not in terms of just my personal self, but I would be willing to create a community of all the sports people, people interested in sports, and people who are looking to pick up new sports at ISB. So you just put it on there, what you are passionate about, no matter if you're pursuing it right now or not. And ISB is definitely looking at that in your essays and stories.
Thanks a lot.
Also, if I can
can
add to whatever
share-
Nipun said,
Yeah, go ahead.
Prathamesh, if your question is to how to even figure out what you're good at, an excellent way that I would suggest is to just like reach out to people who you're close with in terms of mentorship. Like, say, if you have seniors at college, or if you have professional mentors, or if you have family who are really invested in you to succeed, they would always have good feedback. This is what you're good at, this is what you need to improve on. Now lean in on your strengths. If someone says, and if someone repeatedly compliments you that you're a great orator, then lean in on that, try to show that in your applications. If someone keeps saying that you are great at sports, then lean in on that, so you can use that feedback as a way to figure out what you're good at.
True.
Thanks a lot, Shubhankar.
So any more questions to the students?
What's the difference between Masters Union and ISB? Why does one have to choose ISB over other colleges? Masters Union just started 2 years back, and you cannot even, I mean, they don't even have an accreditation if you compare to ISB. ISB has international accreditations from some of the top bodies like AMBA, right? So we are ranked 31st globally and #1 in India, the World MBA rankings. So I don't know how to compare between ISB and Masters Union.
Plus, Karthik, I think it's a call that you have to make. I think yourself have written that why does one have to choose ISB over other colleges? I think that's where your research will come into play. Don't go with the word claims and all, what you have written. Just make sure that you're talking to people. I think that's the best way to figure out which college you want to go in. I'm not advocating anything. Just even if you're choosing any colleges, just make sure that you're talking to people who are studying or have been an alum of that institute, because that's the best way you can judge which college aligns to your goals.
Another thing is, Karthik, look at where are the alums right now. You look at the alums of ISB. What are the top companies in India? Almost every company in leadership roles, you will see ISB alums. That's how you can figure out which colleges are doing extremely well.
Good way of looking at it. Yes.
Thank you. All right. I think we are almost
I think
done.
we are done. Yes. Thank you very much, students, for taking out time. I'm sure after classes and after all the activities that we talked about, you want to have some time for yourself too. Thank you for answering all these queries, and it obliterates a lot of misconceptions and myths that we are trying to, what do you say, exterminate from the minds of people. Thank you so much, Arun, for being there and answering all those questions and arranging all this paraphernalia. So I think we are reaching the end of this webinar. Obviously, as Arun said, we'll be sharing the recording. We'll be uploading it on our YouTube channel. If you have any more questions, probably you can write to us at ylp@isb.edu, and our team will get back to you and answer the queries that you people have. Best of luck for all those people who are preparing for the round 2 deadline, which is on 31st of January. It's time to now. 31st of March. Thank you very much. I think it's time to now call it quits. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you so much. And we'll soon see you probably in some other webinar. Thank you. Thank you for being a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ketan. Thank you all. And thank you, every team, for your support.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye. Bye.
Team.
Bye.